Wheelchair Wednesday is what we like to call this show. Come on in, have a seat. Unless you're already in a wheelchair, then I guess you brought your own, eh? Woo! Singer! Now, this special guest we got coming to us is coming to us all the way from the great state of Florida. But before we get to him, let's go ahead and run the intro. Welcome to Wheelchair Wednesday. Join us. Let's welcome Hector Del Valle to the show. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Rick. Really good to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem, man. I know we've talked a little bit, I think even before Christmas, about getting you on there, and I kind of just been getting back to it. A lot of people, they know the story, but yeah, I had my teeth yanked out, had the surgery done, and it was, when you do that, you got to kind of take a little bit of time off.
Yeah.
So now we're getting back to it, and, even with no teeth, people can still understand me, so we're going to truck ahead, you know what I mean? Now, you said you've seen the show before. We ask you a bunch of questions about life in a wheelchair, but you also have something coming up that you'd like to talk about, something to promote, so we can also do that as well. But before we get to all that, why don't you go ahead and just answer the first question, which is pretty much, we get this all the time. Well, what happened? How'd you get in a wheelchair? What's the story? We'll start with that. Go ahead.
Gotcha. Yeah. It was September 17th, 1982. It was my first week of my senior year in high school. And I was just told on that Friday that I was going to be the captain of the gymnastics team and so forth. So I was excited, wanted to go out, wanted to go celebrate, and so forth. And so I did. We used to hang out at a roller skating arena in Jersey. I was born and raised in Jersey, and we were doing some roller skating that night. I just got my car fixed. I had a 1972 Ford Maverick and so
Nice.
forth, and we just did some mag wheels on it. Had the radio station in there. I mean, we had all the bells and whistles and that. Had a little doggy in the back window that went like this, because all Puerto Ricans do that.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah. I've seen that on the
there
Cheech and Chong videos.
there you go. There you go. Matter of fact, those were my idols back there in the 80s. But
Nice.
yeah, I was just 17 years old and I felt totally invincible and stuff. And so I went roller skating. And I also had access to a fake ID that I used to get served at a bar with and so forth. So I was, found out that it was going to be too uncomfortable doing roller skating in a pair of Jordache jeans. So that just gives you an idea of how long ago this was. This was, again, 1982. And
Right.
decided to go home, change my clothes, and matter of fact, before I did that, I had a six-pack of beer with some guys there at the roller skating ring. Drove home to change and so forth, and it was about 11:15, 11:30 when I was just about to grab the front door and leave. And my mom, like, where are you going at this time of hour? He goes, "Don't worry about it, Mom. I'll be back." You know,
Right.
and never came back the same because I got into my car and I was at a red light, heading back to where I was going to go with the roller skating ring, and I see these two girls hanging on a fire escape. And that building that they were hanging out at was my summer job. The entire summer job, I was into demolition and working with a master carpenter at the time. And we
Nice.
just started talking, yelling back and forth with each other, from their fire escape. And I asked them what they're doing. They asked me what I'm doing. I said, I'm not doing anything if you're not doing anything. So I ended up climbing up their fire escape and joining them for like bottle, did about a bottle of amaretto between
Oh,
three of
God.
us and so forth. And
Up
then
there partying.
there you go. Yeah, yeah. And then I had a couple beers with them, and then we decided to go and find this guy that was selling weed. So we went him, we found him, we located him, we smoked with him, and Rick, I just knew I was intoxicated at this time because I told him I had to pee. I went out by a bush. I'm peeing by the bush, and I'm rocking back and forth,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm really trying to feel my buzz coming on. And I said, I said it to myself. I could hear myself saying, "Man, I shouldn't be driving right now. I should
Right.
not be driving." But I just blew it off, because I
That's
thought it
that
was
inner
all about
voice.
fear.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. So I just thought that it was, a little fear. I said, "No, I'm like, we're all going to be all right." So I got into my car. There was two girls in my car. I had these bucket seats. It happened to be that the passenger bucket seat was broken. So if I ever put on the brakes, you're going to go flying forward. So I
Oh,
always tell my
no.
passengers, put your feet in front of you, please, just in case I have to stop, so you guys can control it. Had two really pretty girls with me on the front seat there, and so forth. And we were driving about 5 minutes. I was going to a pizzeria. It should have taken me like about 7, 8 minutes to get there. And within that ride, somebody came out and they came out a little bit too far. But then again, because I had a good buzz on, my delays were late. Ended up skidding away from the car, going on the opposite side of the highway, hitting two cars there, and finally coming to a full stop at a brick wall that happened to be my school at a football game with somebody else.
Oh
And
man.
so that got a lot of attention, so forth, and which left me paralyzed from the chest down. I was stuck in my car. Jaws of life needed to be called in, pulled me away. I can't, I was in and out of consciousness. And I just remember that one time when I came consciousness, I just remember one of the firemen, they had the plastic bag over my head. They go, Hector, we're just going to cover your face. We're going to have to cut through some glass here. So just, you're going to be all right. And I just went out again. I came back again, and I was in the emergency room, and I had a very angry nurse with me. And I told her I think I had to throw up. And she goes, "Oh my goodness, are you serious now?" Just flipped me right over on my side. I'm puking in a thing. Who knows what was
Oh
going on
hell no.
that worsened the injury or whatever. But anyway, she goes, "That's what you get for drinking and driving." And so, anyway, as insensitive as that was, I would just ask listeners that, if you're back from this time, 1982, it was big on drinking and driving. Mothers Against Drunk Drivers was really getting active. Students Against
Mad.
Drunk
Yep.
Drivers was getting active, and so forth. So there was a lot of attention on drinking and driving back then.
Yeah.
And I pretty much became the Jerry Lewis poster child to don't drink and drive. I was very fortunate to get some help from the president, Ronald Reagan at the time, who I got to meet
Oh
twice to
nice.
raise the drinking age to
Wow.
21. A lot of my friends didn't like that, but I had to just do what I felt was right. I
Right.
felt we were just too immature at the time. But then again, they would come back, hey, if you're old enough to go to war, why are we not old enough to just have a drink when we want it? So
Yeah.
that's a little bit about how I got here 42 years ago.
Well, hey
And
man,
I
I'm gonna give
continue to
you. I'm
talk
gonna give
about
you
it
a round
today.
of applause. Right. Round of applause to you,
Absolutely.
Hector, for being through that, man, and coming back and sharing a story to, hopefully motivate others to not go down that path. Um,
Correct.
yeah, it's a big thing. A lot of people they automatically assume because you're in a wheelchair, you got some kind of car accident or something. But a
Right,
lot of
right.
people you talk to, man, I mean, you've seen the show. I mean, we got people that's dove in, head first. We got people that's fallen off
Mhm.
of just a roof or something. It's just anything could happen at any time. Um, so, man, that was a long time ago. So you've been in chair for how many years now?
42. 42. I just celebrated
42
42
years.
September 17th. Yeah, so I'll celebrate 43 on September 17th.
Wow. So I mean, that right there just goes to show you can still live a good
Oh,
life.
absolutely, man.
Yep.
Absolutely. And that
After
was
your
with the
accident.
that was without the ADA still. Yeah, and that was without
Right.
the ADA. So and I lived on a hill. I lived on a hill, so and none of the curb cuts were in place or anything like that. It was just crazy times, but man, wherever that chair could take me, man, that's where I went.
Right. Old school times, man. Yeah, you went through it all.
Yeah,
You
man.
lived through it and seeing it all. Heck yeah.
Yeah, just about,
Um,
brother.
what is your? This is a question I ask everybody. Being in a wheelchair for so long, you got to have at least one kind of pet peeve about being in a wheelchair. Something that kind of bugs you. What's
Mm.
that?
Wow, man. Uh, I would say it's the whole parking thing. When I go to park my vehicle and so forth, and somebody doesn't see the freaking sign on the side of the van to give me at least 6 feet, to so my
Right.
ramp doesn't pull out and stuff like that. But I gave up driving about 15 years ago. I was driving for about a good 25, 30 years. And because of all the crap that was happening, around me, especially in my van, I've had electrical fires in my van. I've gotten stuck on my easy lock in my van. I've had the sliding doors open up by themselves. I started getting some anxieties about driving, Rick. Like every little sound I heard, I was like, hey, what was that? And then I started driving only about 40 miles an hour on the highways at 55, and I was just going to cause an accident. And I
Oh
just
my
felt that it was
goodness.
time to give up driving,
Just kind of
So
like
for the past
anxiety
15,
building up on you.
oh yeah, big time, big time. So for the past 15 years, I've been, my caregivers have been driving for me. So
I mean, I can kind of see that. I luckily, my fiance is with me all the time, mostly either that or a caregiver. So like, if something ever happens where my ramp don't come out or something like that, I
mhm.
got somebody to help me. So for me, it's not so much of a worry. But I have felt that feeling of being by yourself and like, oh God, what happens if this ramp don't come out? How am I
Yes.
going to get out of here? Am I just going to
Right.
ramp out? Like, what do I do? You know, so I do kind of get the feeling of like not wanting to deal with it no more. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Um, Let me see. What do we got next here? Oh, that was a good one. What's your biggest fear about
Uh,
being in like in a wheelchair? Like, what was the thing that made you most like,
you know what? In the very beginning, it was all about pissing and shitting my pants. You
mm-hmm.
know, it really was. I don't know what it was. You know, I mean, I was, you know, when I was growing up, man, at first I thought I was Fonzarelli on, you know, Happy Days,
Happy
and then
days?
I
Yep.
thought, yeah, and then I thought I was John Travolta on Saturday Night Fever. I was the big, you
Mm-hmm.
know, we were all about the disco, thought I would never die, you know, and stuff like that. So, so I come from that generation, and I, you know, that was my thing. My thing was always to look good, and don't look at the chair. You know, hey, just look at me. Don't look at the chair. I'm all right. We're good, and stuff
Right.
like that. But there was nothing. There was no way that I can hide around freaking wet pants or you know or soiling myself, and that was
Yep.
the and that was a big problem for me because you know I sometimes I did good, you know, weeks, you know, without nothing, and then other times things would happen at the most inappropriate freaking time. Say
Oh
like when I
yeah.
was speaking out of school with the governor and stuff like that, and you know, and
Oh
it was so
man.
weird because I did crap my pants, and we were in a very small room, and you know, and of course I did the whole, oh, I just smell that. Oh man, that smells like shit. You know,
Oh
so I
man.
was trying to just depart people from that and stuff like that. So whoever knew or whatever, you know, you know, they just let it go and stuff like that. But just stuff like that is one of my biggest fears in early injury. Today, I really have done a lot of work, Rick, as far as working on my fears, my insecurities, even coming on your show. You know, it's just like, oh my goodness, what am I gonna say? How am I gonna say? You know, and so forth. But you know what? When I just tell myself, just be you, and you're gonna be all right. You know, it takes away from a lot of the anxieties. I got my master's degree in social work, so I did a lot of work on myself. I've also battled with addiction and substance abuse issues and stuff like that. So I got a lot of therapy in me, and I got a lot of faith in me today. So I'm just grateful that I am still around to still be able to help others.
Nice. Yeah, and you know, it's like you're saying, like the anxiety you get before you do anything. It's almost good. It's almost good to feel that way because it kind of makes you feel alive a little bit in a sense. You know, when people want to get on my show and, you know, I'll talk to them ahead, like me and you messaging back and forth. I get all the time, people are like, oh, I'm so nervous. Like, I don't, and I'm like, don't be. It's literally once we get on here, we're just hanging out. It's just like, you know, a couple of old buddies talking, you know, shooting shit, whatever. Amanda said that's twice as long as her, Amanda Bailey. Thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, if you're watching live, feel free to ask them. And if they're good and pertaining, we'll ask Hector here live on the air. Um, what about dating or married? What is that like for you?
Yeah, so dating and marriage. I've been married twice. I've been divorced twice, you know. And I tell you, it's felt like the last 10 years when I got my last divorce, it really tabooed me. It really freaked me out as far as marriage or doing that ever again. You know, I would, and this is just for me, but, you know, I will never put my girlfriend or my spouse in a position where they become my full-time CNA, you know, or my full-time nurse, because that caused a lot of problems, you know,
Oh yeah.
in my relationships and stuff like that. So, so I stayed pretty much sober and just kept it with friends with benefits for for the longest time, and which worked out good to me. But man, I was recently surprised for my 60th birthday by a friend who haven't seen in a long time since high school, over 4 years, and who surprised me just in January when I celebrated my 60th birthday. And she surprised me. She just showed up after not seeing each other for, and I had such the hots for this girl, man. This girl was one of the pretty
Hmm.
girls in high school that, you know, walked by in the high school, you know, walked by, and just made my neck turn a lot and stuff like
Oh
that. And
yeah.
always
Couldn't keep your
attracted to
eyes
her.
off her. Yeah.
Exactly. Always attracted to her and stuff like that. So it was really nice to see her surprise me, and we've been in touch ever since. And we're dating now. So this is really my first relationship after, you know, just a long, you know, just a long thing of, you know, not really dating, you know. Um,
Heck
so I
yeah.
still got some issues around marriage about that and stuff like that. But I like going at this pace where I'm going at right now, just getting to know somebody and getting back into just, you know, the active sexual life as well too, because that's an important part, especially in our community. You know, that's almost the number one question that I get sometimes. It's like, you know, sex, and
Yeah.
everyone wants to talk
Yep.
about sex. You know.
Yep. Yeah, but and that's it's man, it's funny because it's a big issue, it's a big question. Everybody wonders about it until it comes time to talk about it. I've had a couple of these podcasts about sex. I've had some big names on, such as Maldito Arnito,
Yeah,
Gina
sure, yeah,
Chu. Yeah.
sure,
Who
yeah.
else do we have on here? We had one of your speakers, my buddy Daniel Ruiz.
Danny
He was
Perez, oh,
on.
absolutely, yes.
So
Yep.
I mean, it's we got on and we had a really good conversation, which we need to do again. I need to get them on again, but
Hmm.
it's something that a lot of people, including myself, we don't even like. I don't even think about it the first year or something because you're worried about living and trying to figure it out. But then afterwards, yeah, you still have the urges, you still have the wants and needs. You just have to figure out now a different way and what you're gonna do. You know what I mean? How to do it. Or I mean, it's some guys will. I don't know. I've heard stories. Let's put it that way. Some guys they don't care. They'll just go all into it. So, but I mean, yeah, that is a big issue, and a big topic that I think should be talked about as much as possible, just so it's not, what I mean, so like in the shadows, so to speak. Bring it forward. Let people
Sure.
know about what's going on. Give people hints and tips. You know what I mean? Like if you know something that works, let them know. No.
You say that because I was involved in two major documentaries that we did. The first one was Sexuality Reborn, and this was done out there with Dr. Sipsky from. She was a physician at the time at Kessler's Institute in West Orange, New Jersey. That's where I did my rehab and so forth. And so she contacted me, like, I don't know, maybe it was 10 years, 12 years after my injury, because when I went in rehab and they started showing us these tapes on sexuality and stuff like that, there was this guy with, excuse me, with hair down to his. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm actually thinking about opening this door back here. It's kind of stale. I feel like I'm living in a hot oven.
I hear you. So yeah, so she contacted me there, and we did a video. She did a video called "Sexuality Reborn," and that's where she took five couples, with all different mixes. Like I was quadriplegic. The girl I was dating at the time was able-bodied. There was another guy where it was vice, where the girl was in a chair and the guy was able-bodied. Two married couples, different types of disabilities, whether it was spinal cord injury, cerebral. I think was one gentleman with cerebral palsy, the other person I forget what it was. But they took those five different couples and they interviewed them and they talked about how sex can definitely be different, but it all depended on your communication levels. I mean, could you communicate to a partner about what are your wants and needs? I mean, even able-bodied people still have trouble with sex, or men get stuck in this whole mindset about, let me get on top and let me do this, and
Yeah,
we
because you
worried
want to
about
be
each other's
controlling. Yeah.
ejaculation.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a whole masculine thing, and then you throw a disability on top of that. You can't hide none of that stuff.
No.
I remember
Yeah.
we were shooting a scene right there, Rick, where I was in bed and we were in a 69 position. So, and then of course I had to go pee, right? So me and my
Oh
girl,
man.
at the time we experienced that. So we always had a urinal close by, and so forth. So we grabbed the urinal, put it between my legs, put a pillow there, stuff like that. I kept working. She just took a break there for a minute and just enjoyed the pleasures of that. We did a lot of different stuff, whether it was on the kitchen table. So I don't think your disability really limits you. I think if anything, it forces you to be more creative,
Right.
and sexuality
Right.
is one of those things. Sex is one of those things where you have to be creative.
Man, you're talking about you did a
Y-
video. Hold on. Where can I find this
Well, I did.
video at, Hector? Is this in
Yeah.
Blockbuster? Let me write this down
Yeah,
real
yeah,
quick.
right. That's Kessler's Institute. Yeah, Kessler's Institute, and just and it's called Sexuality Board. The second thing I did with Dr. Sipsky, as a matter of fact, it was Dr. Sipsky back in 23 contacted me and so forth, and says she was doing a documentary for the PVA, the Paralyzed Veterans Administration, and she would want to know if I would come back, and it would be 40 episodes that we do on sex, interviewing everything, all the different
Wow.
types of disabilities, all the different belief systems around sex, just everything, gay, straight, bi. We covered it all in those 40 episodes, and yeah, it was quite an eye opening to say, oh yeah, sex is still alive and well in our community. Some
Right.
people talk about it, some people don't talk about it, and sometimes it's rough to find those people to talk about, especially if you're a new injury and so forth. I don't know about anybody else, but I know when I was when I was newly injured, I didn't want to talk to another person in a wheelchair because I kept on saying, that's not me. I don't need to know anything that you know because that's not me. I'm getting out of this chair,
Right.
tomorrow, next week, next month,
Yep.
and as that time went, that time went on, it became, well, maybe next year, maybe in a few years. And then when Christopher Reeve got injured, it just all hyped up again, stuff like that.
Right.
So yeah, it's been a journey, brother, in regards to that. So, but sexuality, money, this mindset about money in our community, in regards to how it affects our benefits, how it affects our health benefits, if we were to take on a job, and so forth, and really
Yeah, that's
trying
a
to
bunch of
refine
BS,
yourself.
man. Yeah.
It really is, I mean, I thank God they gotten better because, the limits of what you could make, varies from state to state. I know here in Florida, I mean, now it's up to 1,500. Back when I first got injured, you weren't able to make more than 500 bucks or something like that, or you get penalized and, you lose that month's check. And then they came up with the 9-month trial work period and so forth, where they allowed you to, work for at least 9 months, collect that Social Security, disability and stuff. But I really wanted to today just focus on the whole mindset about what we have in regards to money and our health insurance. I think sometimes it really limits us even more on top of the physical disability as far as what we could do and what we believe in ourselves that we can do. So the
Right.
course is a lot to deal with, a lot of those feelings and stuff like that. And I'm sure we could talk about that later.
Yeah. You know what? Let's do one more here, and then we'll get to the chorus. What is the one thing that you wish you could do right now that you can no longer do?
That I can no longer do. Wow, let me see. And this is not to sound egotistical, man, but I'm really am content with life right now. So I don't think about the things I can't do. I mean, to do more of. I think I would always like to have more freedom to travel more. It's not like I can't do that. I could definitely do that. But there has to be the right balance of, still being responsible for stuff. I mean, I didn't hit a lottery or anything like that. I was really never good with money. I've just learned to be better with money after going through a
Mm-hmm.
bankruptcy and so forth. So I'm a lot better with money, a lot more appreciative about what I do have instead of trying to look for things I don't have,
Right.
stuff like that. I'm really trying to enjoy everything that I do have today. And I live in a beautiful place. I just got a new van and stuff like that I did have to fight for with my insurance company for a
Oh
Toyota
yeah.
Sienna
Always.
2025. So there was a fight there for 5 years. I had to depend on paratransit or purchasing these old vehicles that would last me 3 to 6 months. That's been part a little bit the struggle, but I really try to focus on what I have and what I can do instead of what I don't and what I
Right.
can't not do.
For sure. Absolutely. I'm gonna give you one of these right here for that one.
Thanks, brother.
Um. Yeah, and like with the traveling thing, it kind of got me thinking. Able-bodied people can travel anywhere they want, get out anywhere they want, go into any restaurant, any little side hustle, whatever they want to do, they can do that. They can go to a cliff, they
Right.
can climb down to the beach. We, on the other hand, have to look ahead of time to figure out can I get down here? Can I make it in this
Yeah.
shop? Can I go to this hotel? And it becomes a pain in the ass, but it's doable. It just takes more work, like you said.
Hmm.
So with that, let's go ahead and run through this course you're talking about here. I'm just going to let you go ahead and you tell us about what it's like. What we'll do also is we're going to put a link at the bottom of this video once we're done here. That whatever you provide for me, that'll get them to where they got to go to check it out. So go ahead.
Awesome.
Let us know what that's about.
And
Uh-oh.
myself and my
Oh,
partner.
there you go.
Oops. Yeah, it's a 6-week course. It was set up, with me and a partner, my friend, good friend Willis Washington from Oklahoma, and me and Willis met at United Spinal, roll on Capitol Hill, one of the first ones that they had. I think it was 2012, 2013, and so forth. So me and Willis really became friends there, and so we kept in touch. We were going to do a cross country tour all around, visiting all the rehabs and stuff like that, just to get the conversation going about what it feels like to be disabled and so forth, and what are some of the challenges and so forth. And we were promoting back then. We were promoting the new accessible icon project. It's that little guy in a wheelchair, that's in motion. So he's leaning forward and he's in motion, stuff like that, compared to the stick figure that was created back in 1960. That in the beginning, when they even came up with that symbol, it didn't even have a head at the time.
Oh, so the guy
So
that's
that
kind of like moving forward. I know what you're saying. Okay, yeah.
exactly. Yep. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. And he's now, matter of fact, he's now an emoji. A matter of fact, right now.
I've actually
So
seen
through
that
our
around. Yeah, I've seen that around a lot
yes.
more lately.
Yeah, so when me and Willis we met on that, we were trying to get United Spinal involved. We did get a couple states to adopt a new logo, and so forth. And that's where we left that. But we found more. There was more interest in corporations wanting the logo, like CVS and Walgreens. You know, they all carry the logo now. They put it in their disabled parking lots and
Parking
stuff like
lots.
that. So, yep.
Yep.
So they want to just put the message out there that, hey, it's time for change, and people with disabilities also change, and they have families, they have life, so they are on the move. People like yourself and me, we are on the move. We got things to do, people to talk to.
Oh yeah.
We just, being still is like boring, and just not
Yeah.
doing anything. But I also understand how fear can get the best of you and so forth. So the 6-week course came about just last year in 2024. Me and Willis really wanted to make an impact. We really wanted to do something. And we understood that there was a lot of peer support programs out there. And that's great. But again, those are more controlled about, who shows up, who's running the peer support groups, and so forth. And we want to do something just where trying to meet people where they are. Pretty much what you do, Rick, just trying to have a conversation with people to find out what's working, what's not working. And so
Right.
we came up with the Thriving Through Transition um, course that we did in 6 weeks. And every week we would focus on a certain theme or a certain module, and with that, we created a 100-page workbook to go to that, just so we can dig in a little bit, a little bit deeper in regards to how I was feeling and the things that I was thinking, simply because when I was in rehab, yeah, I had a psychiatrist, I visited him one time. He asked me how I was doing. I told him I was fine, and I never saw my psychiatrist again.
Mm-hmm.
So now today it's crazy because what rehab is more like 4 to 6 weeks.
Right.
That's the extent. It went from 5 to 6 months, 7 months for some of us, and so forth, to 4 to 6 weeks. So
Yeah, they
you
try to
know
push you
that you're
out
gonna
real quick nowadays.
yeah, and you're gonna take all that mental stuff and emotional stuff. You're gonna take it home because your home doesn't look nothing like rehab does. You don't have that 24/7 staff there that's always looking after you. You don't have the accessible bathroom. It's either in the process of still being made or whatever. So you're coming into a rough situation if you don't have all your resources already lined up, already building your place for you while you're still in rehab.
Right.
We deal with a lot of the emotions that come with it. One of our first modules is that you're more than your body. So we have a discussion, and we get them to ask some questions like, what are you feeling right now? Because one of your biggest barriers is going to be you yourself about what you feel you can do and what you feel you can't do. So we start having discussions with that. We start bringing in guest speakers, so they can touch on it. Me and
Speaking
Willis
of which,
also answer those
Daniel
questions.
Ruiz just chimed in. What's up, Daniel? Good to see you,
What's up,
bud.
Daniel?
So yeah, no, it does. It sounds like there was a hole that something needed to be filled in for it, and you're
Yeah,
filling in that hole as best you can. And see, that's all it takes is a little bit of want to. You see an issue, you see something that needs to be done. You can do it. If you can do it, do it. Why not? Help other people. And that's kind of like you said. What we try to do on this show is not really help. I would say per se, I don't see myself as a psychiatrist or anything like that, but we just
right.
like to do this so people can get their stories out, to give other people courage and confidence to know that there
Yeah.
is life after the injury. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the purpose of the course is to help people reclaim that value and that worth. Because a lot of them are out there seeking like, oh man, what am I going to do with this? Or they're just focusing on what they can no longer do. I'm paralyzed, man. I'm paralyzed from the chest down. I'm paralyzed. It changed their whole life. We get that. We want to empathize with that and stuff like that. But we don't want to live there. We don't want to live there in that depression,
Right.
and many too often people do. And again, I'm not a psychiatrist. I have my background in social work and so forth, man. But I do know what those feelings feel like. I do know what those thoughts and how those thoughts come in. I was having suicidal ideations, back in 2015, because I was struggling with the divorce. I was struggling with life and
Oh
so
yeah.
forth. And it was easy for me to just, and I was having those thoughts. So, I lived on a busy street and so forth. I said, man, all I got to do is take my chair in here and it'll be over. And I just couldn't do it. So I ended up getting on the phone, talked to my doctor, and say, hey, I need some help. And
Right.
to reflect it, it just reflected on a bunch of stuff that I've been doing as far as counseling and so forth. But it just reassured me that I was in the right place doing the right thing. And that's, if however I can help people, whether it's with our story or whatever, I think can make a difference. And this is why, besides the course that we created, the 6-week course, we also created what's called a collaboration book project. And matter of fact, Daniel was one of the authors that was just on the Unbreakable book, I believe, and so forth.
Nice.
So Daniel's really been a big part of, keeping the group together, and really just it's been a really great support network for all of us. We started out with 10 authors. We're now up to just about 30 authors. We've come out with 2 collaboration books. Rick, we would invite you, man. We would love to have you be one of our authors, and for you to share your story and how you got to where you're at today.
You know what? I might, Hector. I might. Give me a minute. Give me a little while, and I'm not going to say
Absolutely,
no
brother.
to you. You know what I mean? I'm not going to say no because I think it would be interesting to kind of delve into that a little bit.
Right.
And to Daniel, thanks, buddy. You sent us the 50 stars. Daniel's like the only person that's ever sent stars on Facebook, and we appreciate that, Daniel. And he said back in 1983 he was injured and spent 3 months in the hospital, and at the time it was one of the fastest. He was one of the fastest people to get in and out. So yeah, appreciate you coming along and watching, Daniel. And just being a homie, he's on our wheelhouse heater. Daniel helped us heat the wheelhouse back when we were getting the heater going. So he's now a
Nice.
full-time sponsor. Great guy. Great guy. Gonna get another one of those. And a round of applause for both of you guys for doing what you're doing. All right, so back to the question sector. And this is something that's I don't know. I don't know where I came up with this, but we asked it once and it kind of stuck. So, being as content as you are, if you could fix one thing about your paralysis, your paralyzed body, what would it be?
I would say it would be my hands. I got the quad hands and so forth. I only got like one tenodesis. I got a little tenodesis in the right hand. I have nothing in the left and stuff like that. I was taught, to deal with a word processor at the time because I didn't know what I was going to do after the hospital and so forth. I was a carpenter's apprentice and stuff. So I mean, it would be nice to have hand function back. It would be nice to just have some sensation back. I really like my chair. I like how fast it goes. I like that it takes me to point A to point B really fast and so forth. But man, I do miss the touch. I do miss that feel to be able to feel something for what it feels like, whether it's for a woman's, back, whatever. I mean, I just, that would be something that I would enjoy. I'm glad to see a lot of amputees are now working with a lot of these bionic arms and so
Mm-hmm.
forth, where they can get the movement, just by thinking about the movement. I
Right.
think there's some of that stuff out there for some quads as well too. But as we know, it's expensive. It's very far and few that either succeed in that. And I've always had my issues about how far are we going to go with people wanting to walk again? I mean, I empathize, and so forth. But when you've been in a chair for as long as I have, this is my norm. I've been in the chair for 42 years. I was only walking for 17. So this
Right.
is who I am
That's
in that
something me and
sense.
Maldito were gonna bring up and talk about was the new like chips and Elon stuff that he's doing to get people to like walk and like, and it's almost like, for me personally, I feel like I I prayed to God 4 days before my accident to change my life, and this is what happened to
Mhm.
me. You know what I mean? So it's like,
That's
God
what you
has a
pray
sense of
for.
humor, right? And God has a sense of humor. But I look around now, and I do have a better life than what I did back then. And it's like, even though you look back and you say that, it's like, do I want to spit in the face and be like, okay, now I want to walk again, or do I just realize
Right.
this is the way I'm supposed to be? This is how I got to live, and when I
Mm.
die, I will not be in this body. This body is just temporary, I believe. You know what I
Right.
mean? So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of conflicted, but I feel like I'm here now. I might as well just chill. So if it was me, I would let everybody else do it and see how it worked. But
Sure. That's what I would let everybody go ahead of me on that one. Yes.
yep, exactly.
Let's see how it works out.
What about pain? How much pain you got? You got any pain level?
Yeah. Yes, I'm a two-time bladder cancer survivor. You know, so
Uh-huh.
I've come up with bladder cancer twice. The reason they told me I got it was because of using a catheter, an indwelling catheter, a suprapubic,
Wow.
for more than 20 years and stuff like that. Suprapubic catheters were not made for long-term use. They were just there
Mm-hmm.
to be temporarily when somebody was going to surgery or stuff like that. And then they found out how to do like suprapubic and just put the tube in there
Now,
and
just so
after
people
long as
know, the super pubic, that's like where it's stuck in there, right? Not permanently, but it stays in
correct,
there.
right, a little bit below for men, it's a little bit below your belly button, and it is pretty much a hole, and that's what makes it so problematic at times for after so long. You're changing a catheter every 30 days, 3 weeks to 30 days, and stuff like that. And you got an opening there, so it's easy for bacteria to sneak in there and stuff
Oh,
like
yeah.
that. So So yeah, so when you ask me about pain, I would say that I'm always on a 5 or 6 on it, and getting treated for it. What I did is I went to my rehab doctor, great doctor, Dr. Kramer here in Central Florida, and he put me on like 2 Tylenols more for prevention in the mornings. But it was, I think it was in the morning, like 2 or 3 times a day, 1,000 milligrams of Tylenol. And I was doing that for about 6 months, and something was just not feeling right. I think I was still masking the what is that, the side effects or whatever,
Right.
and not really working on the solution. So that's where my pain is at. It's manageable right now. But honestly, what was helping was massage, and so forth, which was helping with the pain. I do believe in medicinal marijuana, so that does help a little bit as well too. So
Oh yeah.
these are the ways that, because I had to learn, I had to know the difference between physical pain and emotional pain, and just the negative thinking, because sometimes I would use that as an excuse, to flare up or just to get totally lit,
Oh yeah.
just so I could be with with, who was it, Pink Floyd, to just, be comfortably numb,
Comfortably
and that was
numb.
my
You got it.
and that was my motto song, back in rehab. All I just wanted to be is left alone and just be comfortably numb, you know. So yeah, so that's how I've been coping with pain right now. It would be nice to get back to the massage and doing those things, but
Yeah, massages
having the
sound
bladder
great,
cancer
man.
causes problems. Oh no,
Right.
absolutely. And what I loved about my masseuse is that she learned how to give me a massage right there on my table. I mean, right there in my chair,
Oh
because I
yeah.
have the Permobil M5, and as you know, those things go flat, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. They even go up in height stuff. But man, when she said I can, do your massage right there, because every time I wanted a massage, I had to wait for the orderlies to come pick me up, put her on,
Get up on the
put me on the
table.
table,
Yep.
and then flip me over so I could put my face in the crate, and stuff like that.
Oh
It was just
gosh.
too
Yeah.
much. And when she showed me that she could do it right there in the chair, man, I was just like, let's do this. And I did about, good several months with her. She was just amazing.
Right.
She was just hitting the right spots and everything else like that. Trying to find that same, trying to find another massage therapy as good as her has been a challenge.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Amanda was talking about the cannabis. It's for cannabis, as a youngster, I've been a smoker of it. You know what I mean? And so when I got
Hmm.
hurt, I asked the doctor, "Can I still, use cannabis?" And he said, "Well, have you done it before?" And I said, "Yeah." And I told him how long I've done it and everything. He says, "Yep, as long as you stick to what you're used to and don't overdo, you'll be all right." So for me,
Hmm.
it's more of a at nighttime, I'll take a gummy. I'll go, and it helps me sleep, and it kind of dulls the pain a little bit, even
Hmm.
physically a little bit for the gummies. But
No
for
doubt.
smoking, it's more of a mental kind of help. You know what I mean? It kind of helps you mentally
Hmm.
mellow out. Doesn't help, doesn't make you worry so much about the pain or what else is going on. Daniel said 420. Yep. Um, so yeah, I definitely understand that. Right now, what do you do for hobbies? What's your biggest hobby?
Oh man, RCing all the way. RCing, flying drones, is my thing. Have you heard of Jerry Diaz? You had Jerry on the show? Jerry
Uh-uh.
Diaz is big with WCMX, which are motocross. Aaron Fotheringham, from the Nitro
Oh, yep,
Circus, who
yep.
jumps all these crazy
Wheels.
things.
Yep.
Yes, Wheels, exactly. So Wheels and Jerry got together, or Jerry got together with Wheels, and he's pretty much our main representative for wheelchair motocross here. So he does a lot of tricks on his chair and stuff like that. Not only that, but he works with a lot of youth and a lot of young kids and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And they love that. I was just telling the girl that I'm seeing, I said, it's funny, the parents' faces when they come to a wheelchair motocross event, because they got their 5-year-old kid in a wheelchair, different types of disabilities, and they're putting they're giving them a helmet, they're putting pads on the elbows, they're putting pads on the knees. They're almost like, holy shit, what did I just sign my kid up to? And so
Right.
forth. And they go into skate parks, and they do it all pretty much as what a skateboarder would do, and I
Mm-hmm.
just find that so fascinating. But so I get to hang out with Jerry sometimes. We get to, either help with the youth and doing that, or we hang out and do some RCN. Jerry has a great set of RC cars and so forth, whether there's little crawlers that try to crawl up on the rocks and stuff like that, or whether we have some fax RCing cars by tracks or and so forth. So that's the thing I love to do. And then of course droning. Oh dude, look at you. Whoa man, who's that?
That's a
There's the
General Lee. That's a Dukes of
Daniel
Hazzard
Lee.
car from back in the day.
Back in the
I
days,
had to
man.
build that. Yeah, I had to build that car
Wow, no way.
because they don't sell them here in America. You can't buy the 1969 Chargers, so I had to go get it from the UK. as a model, and then it had to be shipped over here, and then I had to drill the holes and put it on the frame. And oh yeah, no, it is RCing, man. Is it's fun, especially you get the kids into it. Get yourself a little track outside and
Growing.
time
It's
yourself.
growing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's growing. They got the professional tracks going on right now. I mean, my mall, I've had a very small mall that I lived here, and they put in a little small RC track in there. I thought it was great. District Eat and Play is also at that mall. So we went to District Eat and Play, and they pretty much allowed us to do a whole event right outside their restaurant in the mall. And it was
Wow.
fascinating. People were just stopping and checking it out, had no idea what was even going on and so forth. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. And I've been having a lot of fun with droning. And that was the one thing I'll say real quick, Rick. For a quad, trying to control the controls either on an RC car or either on PlayStation or anything. So me and my friends, we used to get together at least on the weekends or whatever, and we used to do something called Fly Driver Play. And we would focus either on driving an RC car, playing these games on the computer and stuff like that, or flying drones. And I never thought that I could do that because I had no finger dexterity. I couldn't grab the little levers, especially with a drone
Right.
and so forth like that, or the RC car, we have to turn the wheel and still give it gas and stuff like that. So me and my roommate, man, he helped me, God bless him, Fred, man. He helped me to like try to say, okay, well, we'll just have to modify. So we spent weeks trying to modify controllers and stuff like that, and shit just wasn't working, man. And
Right.
and I said, you know what, the hell with it. Just give me the controller. Just give me the controller. I'm gonna do the best I freaking can. And and it turned out, man, I didn't need no modifications. So I was already trying to modify something when I already assumed saying I can't do that. So I got these people trying to say, oh well, let's modify it for you.
I mean,
And
you really
no
never
matter
even
what they
tried the whole thing. Right. Right.
no, man, until they just gave me the controller, say, Hector, what do you think? So when I drive my RC car, I lay my controller flat on my table because that would allow my left hand to work the steering and it would allow me to work the throttle and giving it gas. And I said, I can't
Right.
believe that I've wasted 30 years of my life thinking I couldn't do this. Because that's what it
Right.
was. It was a mindset about I can't do that. I don't have finger dexterity.
You're
Even
putting up an
before I even
invisible
tried.
wall. Yeah, you're putting up your own invisible
Yes.
wall for yourself that you don't even know.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You don't even need to
Yes.
do that. You could have done that, and not even thought about it. But you yourself are your worst enemy.
Exactly, and that's exactly what we talk about in that first module, that you are more than your body. You're
Hmm.
more than if you're just looking at what you can't do. There's so much more, the creativity, the things that you could just still try, and then come something else out of it. Or you look at something and that needs modification. Like one of the things I love to do as well too. We just don't have we don't have enough people still is soccer, wheelchair soccer and motorized chairs. And man, I
Yeah.
love
Yep.
that. I love banging them up with the best and so forth like that. But we just don't have enough support, to create a team and stuff like that. So
You know,
that's
it's
sometimes
crazy.
a lack of interest.
And it's it's I think it is that it's lack of interest because there's a guy named Colin. I can't think of his last name, but I had him on once, and he's from the UK. He's over in Europe, and he was trying to do wheelchair rugby and wheelchair American football, and he was trying to like get people out, and he did. He actually got people come out, and they had their first game. But I don't know how it went. I mean, me personally, you ain't catching me out on a rugby field or anything like that. Like I'm not.
Right.
I wasn't even that athletic before my accident. Like, there's no way I'm gonna get out there and do it right now. But like doing something like soccer on a motorized wheelchair, that's something that I could probably. It would be fun, I think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man. Yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely anything to get out there and get active. And even some people I've talked to that are like complete quads that are just only can move, like their head a little bit and they can still talk. That just to stay positive in that situation is something that's like an inspiration to everybody else. So shout out to those people too.
Yeah,
Um,
man. Yeah, man.
but yeah, dude, absolutely. And then the more we talk about it, the more you got me thinking of helping you out with the author stuff and seeing what I can do.
Pretty great.
So we'll get to that. Now, you said you had a Promobile M5,
Yeah,
right?
Promobile M5. Yep.
Now that's the one with the center drive, I believe it is, or that's not? Because I
It
have a
is.
Promobile F3, which is
I
like a
had the
little
one
bit
before that.
faster. Okay.
Yeah. And back then, you'd have to pay a little bit more for that speed packet. Now it automatically comes like with the M5. It's no longer a special package or anything. It's still
Right.
not fast enough for me. I would love to see if we can get these things to 10 miles an hour. There's another chair
Oh,
out
that
there
would be
that goes
so
about
great.
8.5. Oh yeah, there's another chair out there that's brand new. I can't think of the name, but it goes about 8.5 miles an hour. And
Right.
some people say, well, that's not really fast. Well, it is if if you want to be a running coach, you can keep up with somebody with running. Even at my 7 miles an hour, I can keep up with somebody at running. Maybe not at fast speed, but if I want to do coaching or anything like that, or hang out with some kids, I could. That's good enough for me. Whether people want to come bike riding with me, again, I think the speed is just right, and at the same time, you got to be responsible to it because
Only if
I've got myself in some holes before. So,
I was gonna say only if you live in a state that's got decent roads. Because here in Michigan, I'll tell you right now,
oof.
some of the like park trails are cool, but like most of our roads are absolutely crap. Like, and
Mm.
it's the same thing they always run on the governors. They're like, "We're gonna fix the damn roads, fix the roads," and they never. Oh, well, another thing. When they do fix the roads, I just want to say this: when they do fix the
Yeah.
roads, like on the highway, brand new highway laid down just last year, beautiful highway,
Mm.
paint and everything, and then this year they close it down to one lane for what? To repave something that's like. Sometimes I think it's just a big money laundering scam. You know what I mean? Who
Yeah,
knows?
man.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
yep, yep,
Um,
yep.
Now, do you have a name for your chair at all?
No, I don't have a name. You know what? I used to have names for my vehicles. Like I remember the 1999 Dodge Caravan that I bought, or I should say, my family bought for me for about 3,500 bucks. It was sitting in Long Island, New York, so it had a lot of rust underneath it and stuff like that because all this salt and stuff like that, and the
Mm-hmm.
age of the vehicle. And so I called her Betty White. Why? Because she was old and she was white. So I called her Betty White.
Nice.
Now I got this beautiful Toyota Sienna, and I've been throwing some, names, nothing really a stick, but Midnight Blue right now. But the chair,
Nice.
no, man. Other than, come on, baby, don't fail me now.
Don't
If I'm
fail me
getting stuck
now.
in some rain, yeah, if I'm getting stuck in
Right.
some rain, it's like, oh my God, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten stuck in the rain and still had like
Oh
a good
God.
mile to wheel home. Totally drenched, totally thing, and of course, people look at me and go, really, like, it was lightning outside. You're in a motorized chair. I said, yeah, but I
Right.
got rubber tires. You know,
I'm
I
grounded.
should
Right.
be, I should be good. I should be good.
Yep. Yeah, the my van, it's funny, we got a 2019 Chrysler Pacifica Sports Edition, which is like
Oof.
I never even like wanted it. It just popped up. This girl said this is going to be perfect for you. I'm going to hold on to it for you. It was like
Is this the white one
78,
that
yeah,
you showed? Oh yeah, nice.
$78,000 is what we had to pay. I had to pay 5 out of my own pocket. Insurance covered the rest because it was a sports edition and not like a regular one.
Mm,
So
same
I
thing,
paid
yeah.
that, and I almost got it all the way paid off. But the first time we took it out, we went to a casino that's about 2 hours away, and we're driving along, and I wasn't driving yet, I don't think. And I asked my fiance, I said, "What do you want to call her? What do you think we should name her?" And she says, "I think she's Sassy. We should name her Sassy Van." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." So we get to the casino. We spend some money. We go in there. We lose the money. We come back out. We go to open it. I'm ready to go home. I'm in a bad mood. The door opens and the ramp doesn't come out. Brand new van, mind you, 2,000 miles on this
Ouch.
damn thing, and the van won't, and the ramp won't come out. So I'm
Oof.
pissed. I'm cussing everything in the book. I'm yelling as high as I can yell. People are looking at me, and finally she gets down and she yanks it out. She pulls it out by herself, just frankly pulls it
Yeah.
out. And I'm like, well, at least we can do that. So we got in the van, drove home. And then I'm thinking, I'm like, you just had to call it Sassy. So now it's going to give us attitude every time we want. You know what I mean? And she does. It lives up to the name. That van will live up to the name every time. You talk shit about her, she'll show you. But she also comes in a pinch, too. You know what I mean? So,
So true, brother. So true. That's good
but
to have a new vehicle.
yeah, that's pretty much all we got for you, man. The only other last thing I got for you is what would be your one piece of advice that you could give a newly injured person?
Oh man, resources, resources, resources. Know your resources. Know what's out there. Know the CILs that are out there. Know that there are doctors out there that do know what the hell they're doing, and you don't have to explain it to them every time you go into their office about what neurogenic bowel bladder is and so forth, and spasticity and all those things. So that would really be my thing is to go out there, get to know what vocational rehabilitation services are about and what they could do for you. I've gotten through graduate school with the help of vocational rehab. They paid for both my bachelor's and my master's degree, and very grateful for that. But I'll tell you, I had no idea what they did. I had no idea what they did. I remember when I first got injured, there's this guy that would always like I thought he was gay or something because every time he would go up my hill, he would like slow down and just look at me. I said, "What the hell is this guy have to do?" So one day he had the audacity to stop, right, get out of his car and give me his card. And he goes, "Hey man, I always see you hanging over here on the porch. Just want to let you know my name is so and so. I work with vocational rehab. If you ever need any help or you want to get off the porch, and you want to like go to work or do you have any plans?" I said, "Well, I'm dipping, I'm dabbling with a few things and stuff like that." But that was really my first time, and that was like 10 years after my injury, about finding out what vocational rehab does, what Center for Independent Livings do. So to those new people and their families, I would say reach out to those social workers when when you're working with them in the hospital, and you're working about getting back home. You definitely want to know what your resources are, and then that's hopefully that will start the journey on what it is that you're going to be doing next for this next chapter of your life.
Absolutely. I love it.
Yeah.
Round of applause. Mr. Hector Del Valle. How you say it? Valle again?
Del Valle.
Del Valle. There we go.
Yep. From the valley. Yep.
Awesome. From the valley. Well, sir, I appreciate the time. We almost filled up the whole hour. That's awesome.
Awesome, Rick. Thank you so much.
Guys, if anybody's interested in checking out what Hector's got going on, we're going to leave a link after this live video. We're going to put it down in the description. Go ahead and click that and check us out, see what's going on. Until next time, Hector, stick with me. We're going to talk to you right after this. Everybody else, thanks for watching, and tune in next week for another Wheelchair Wednesday. Peace.